Well, Matthew 23:12 records Jesus saying, "Whoever humbles himself will be exalted." 1 Peter 5:5 commands us to be clothed in humility. So let's talk about humility this morning. Let's talk about humility. When we come to our scripture readings, today's lessons from scripture, each of them deal with a different interaction between, God. In the first, Job and God are having a conversation. It begins this way: "And the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind." Then follows a rather one-sided conversation. It's a powerful, beautiful one, but it is one-sided. The whole book of Job is interesting before that because Job has been begging God to talk to him. He's been begging for a chance to lay out his case before God, to be in conversational distance and have God hear some complaints. Well, and then God shows up. It happens. God shows up, and all that happens at that point is Job is stupefied, puts his hand over his mouth. It turns out dumb as a cat that accidentally finds itself in the dog park. Now, Job doesn't find at the end of the book the answers he's been wanting. That's actually part of the point of the book. When he faces God, his questions run away. God overawes Job's issues. They're scared out of him. Now, Job's life turns out well, but the main point is man can't deal with God like that. Man can't say, "Hey, I want to talk with you about this problem." In our second reading in Hebrews, we are again on the topic of interacting with God, but something has changed in Hebrews. Now our conversation with God is not conducted between a flesh and blood man and the living whirlwind. Now it is conducted through Jesus Christ, the whirlwind who has become flesh and blood like us. He has, we read in our second reading, had vehement cries and tears. He had, we read, godly fear and learned obedience. Like Job, it says, he suffered, and like Job, at the end, he prays for his friends, having been made a priest. But notice, God was enough for Job when he was God, the living whirlwind, the living tempest. But how rich, how incredibly, manifoldly rich is our God to us, that he has become more than what he was when he was enough. For he has taken on something less. He has taken on humanity. He has gone low. He has been humbled. Have you ever thought about God as humble? We think of him as high, but so it is. We are taught that he is high and humble, that he doesn't do what is strictly needed. He was enough when he was God, but he gets lower than is needed, that his mercy might be seen for the tenderness it is, that his kindness might be touchable and human. The medieval abbot Bernard of Clairvaux said once, "It's no great thing to be humble when you have been brought low by circumstances, but to be humble when you are praised and when you are on high, that is a great and a very rare thing." Bernard is right in his explanation about the incarnation, and it is a great reminder of our calling too. What does that have to do with us, you might ask? Well, Augustine said, "Should you ask me what is the first thing in religion, I should reply the first, the second, and the third thing therein is humility." So, Christian, have you clothed yourself in humility? And that reminds us of our need to confess. So hear this from Psalm 51:3. "I acknowledge my transgressions. My sin is always before me. If you are with